It's time for a very special edition of Oh Canada, Oh Baby, and two segments as well. Canada drew Curaçao 1-1 at the Gold Cup. A disappointing result, a good goal by Saliba, which brings back all kinds of great memories calling Canada games with my good buddy, former Canadian men's national team player and former interim head coach of Toronto FC, Mr. Terry Dudfield's back right here on One
Thanks,
Soccer.
guys.
It's been a couple of years, man.
I know.
I'm so happy to have you back. How are you, first?
First, you guys are doing amazing.
Oh,
but
come on.
a little bit dusty.
We miss you around here.
I feel like an alumnus. It's nice to be back.
With this time that you spent away, are you watching football from a different perspective? What have you been up to?
Good question. And I planned what I was going to say on the way out here. The commute to North Toronto is nice now.
Yeah.
But number one is just being a dad. And it took a sec to decompress from TFC, but just spending time with little Brian. Been dominating the park scene. Thursday we got to play golf, and you suggested that. Let's talk some footy on Sunday, so it's nice to be here. And then last week I did some fly fishing with my brother.
Nice.
I actually caught my face.
Let's show it. Let's show the side of his face.
Zoom in.
Turn it the other way.
No, we don't need to zoom in.
Yes.
Well, I caught the bank chart. I'm like, it's stuck. Whipped it out.
No, I got the cheek.
You know, you catch a hand or maybe a back. I caught the cheek, and that was a moment I got to get back in the game.
You got to post that picture of the line in Terry's cheek. It reminded me of There's Something About Mary. Yeah. When Ben Stiller gets the hook in the mouth. So it's good to see you. You need to get back on a soccer field as soon as possible, and it's great having you back here in studio. Let's dig into the Canada result, 1-1. I just wonder what you make of it, Terry. Gold Cups are typically difficult. Nothing in international football seems to be straightforward. Yet I was saying that Canada was going to smash Curaçao ahead of this game, and it simply didn't play out that way. What do you make of the results?
Yeah, I actually went the other way, guys, on the back of Honduras' 6-0. Curaçao kind of scared me. I look at their team, they're set up to keep the ball. Straight away, you're like, we're going to Houston, it's hot. Maybe it doesn't necessarily line up nicely with Canada's style of play. So that was a little bit worrisome. I look at Curaçao's team, 75% of them play in the Middle East. They're comfortable in the heat. And then the game's turned on its head. Canada scored an early set piece. I think the second goal would have been really important. That doesn't come. And then as the half grew on, you started to see Curaçao start to come into the game a little bit.
Yeah. I guess the thing that was disconcerting, and I don't want to speak on behalf of Jordan, we did some post-match coverage on our YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, if you haven't already. It's just, this is the 90th ranked team in the world. Canada's on an absolute high. They got some swagger under Jesse Marsch. And I just think that they should be able to handle teams like this, no matter the context, no matter the situation, as we're just about a year out from the World Cup. That was my perspective on it. I was disappointed in some of the individual performances, but I do take your argument in what you said that, games like this happen and sometimes don't necessarily match up great against a specific opponent.
Yeah, a little bit of that. And also, when you're part of a big squad, and what's great is Jesse's, and as part of tournament football, has been giving players an opportunity. But sometimes in that second game, that mindset corner is important, where some of the players, it didn't start the first game. You know those players are going to keep the jersey. They're now coming into the team. You maybe don't feel like the guys rolling into that Honduras game, they're going to keep the shirt. It's a little bit disjointed. I thought timing in the attacking third hasn't been what it's been in previous games. But rather than it's Canada that weren't great, I think you got to give some credit to Curaçao.
Yeah, Curaçao were decent.
Yeah, I said even reflecting after, but I feel this way now. I don't know how you feel, Terry, but there wasn't that rhythm for Canada that you normally see. And maybe that's to do with Curaçao being a bit frustrated, in terms of closing down space. And obviously the heat had a factor, but Canada went on the front foot. They compress when they have energy to win the ball high. They feed off of that. And I think that yesterday there were a lot of holes. And so for you to say disjointed, I feel like that's how they kind of approached the match. That obviously wasn't their plan, to sit back and to make those type of mistakes. But when one happens, you know the game. Another one happens, it ends up being a snowball effect for them.
Also, Jesse Marsch wasn't on the bench, serving the second game of his suspension. We still don't know if additional games will be added on to that. Christian Jack caught up with Jesse Marsch down in Houston to get his reaction about the way the match was handled.
You spoke to me the last time we chatted about helping the players by being away from the touchline.
Yeah.
Did you feel last night it hindered them a little bit in key moments that maybe you could have really brought them back into where they needed to be?
Look, I was vocal about not being happy about the second game of the suspension.
Yeah.
In the end, I think it winds up costing us, because I think if I'm on the bench, like, I can help them at halftime, and I can help even by some of the maybe decisions to make and subs and everything else to inject the right kind of things into the game. And that's nothing against the staff. It's just now knowing with my experiences and the different things that I'm seeing that I could have helped them more. So, you know, that's the way it goes when you get suspended sometimes. I told them they passed one test with flying colors and maybe the second test not as much. But important to learn that now.
Interesting comments by Jesse Marsch. I mean, this is why I was such a big proponent of things settling down in terms of Marsch and some of what's going on off the field, because they need him on the touchline. And it was a moment late in the game that it played out where it seemed like the staff got kind of lost in the moment, having to take off a substitute that was put on. They didn't know if they were on 4 or 3, and then they ended up bringing Kyle Larin in a game just about the 90th minute when they just needed to shut down shop up 1-0, and Luc DeFougerolles or Larea or any one of other players weren't available to come off the bench, and he chose to put on Kyle Larin, and there was 3 strikers on. I think it was that was the moment that stuck out more than any about maybe the way that the staff needs to handle games in moments like this a little bit better.
That was the biggest and most glaring mistake of the day. Like, the other things you could talk about, the Alistair Johnson giveaway, and there's moments in the match where you're like, okay, they don't normally do this. But that was the biggest one, and that's one that Jesse Marsch is hopefully taking responsibility for, because if he's there, maybe that's something different. And I know he's appointed certain players to make a decision, but Terry, you know this better than anyone. There's no world where you're 1-0 up and you have 3 strikers on. Furthermore, 2 of those strikers started the match. So one of them could go down and Luc DeFougerolles could come in and just lock up shop, and then they're up. They get 3 points in that match, and we're talking about, okay, you still won, but it's a poor performance. And now you're like, what happened on the pitch, but what happened on the sideline as well?
Yeah, I think it sounds like they're a little bit open, but I also think it connects with the Canada style of play. And it's plan A. We're all in on plan A. We're going to stick to this 4-2-3-1. And as much as the game might have been crying out for another center back, this is how Canada play. It's exciting. It's edge of your seat stuff. And it might be, okay, let's go get another goal and go the other way. And you know what? I'm okay with Jesse Marsch actually being up there. I like his leadership style. Any big moments that have come up, whether political, against Mexico, whatever it might be, there's no gray. He's all in. This is where we stand. This is where I stand. And
fans love that.
Yeah,
Terry. Like,
you don't see that a ton.
100%. Like, he almost does it, in my opinion, to his own detriment at times. But I don't think that he changes the way that if he changes the way that he approaches things, I'm talking about Jesse Marsch, then he's not being his authentic self, and he probably doesn't get the similar reaction from his players on a regular.
Yeah, it's very real. It's from the heart.
As a coach,
and his own principles and values, and it's easy to follow. If we go just to Mauro Biello, who was at the helm on the bench, it's a tough one being an assistant coach, because you're down there on the bench, you've got 59 pages of PDFs of subs plans and permutations, and this is what we're going to do. So there's a fair bit going on. There's 3 other coaches in your ear. There's a sports science guy in your ear. But you're also thinking, like, I've still got to be Mauro Biello, the assistant coach, but you're also half thinking, okay, what does Jesse Marsch want to do in this situation? Yeah. It's a really tricky one.
I can definitely understand and empathize with that, but I think when you look at what needed to be done, it wasn't a complicated situation. Like, it wasn't. Like, you're 1-0 up, you're in the second round of Gold Cup, you're playing Curaçao, you're on the ropes, put in a defender. Yeah. Like you can look at your 60 PDF, and I can empathize with that, because I know when I look at managers, there's a lot of decisions to be made. It's an easy one.
Let me ask you a question. So if you go back over Canada's games, how many times have Canada played with a back 3?
Under Jesse Marsch, I don't think they have once. I don't think they've.
So that brings just like a little bit of complexity to it. So now, I agree with you, 100%. But now Mauro Biello is actually going against potentially the style of play.
But they have, I remember a context where Joel Waterman was brought in late in the game to finish the job. It's just the little things that are magnified because once it happened before, Canada against Jamaica in the Nations League, and two, next time at the World Cup, a mistake like that, when it's made, can potentially be catastrophic. But potentially there's a bigger issue in terms of the game model that Canada plays, because 52% possession, Canada really weren't in control of the game. And I'll once again go back to it. This was Curaçao. It wasn't Colombia or Switzerland or a decent enough side that they could end up meeting at the World Cup. That is a little bit of a concern for me. Do they need to augment the way they play just a little bit, Terry? I understand the brand, I understand what Marsch represents, but change things a little bit or augment it to gain more control of certain games.
I think you can adapt, and I think that's what Jesse's maybe talking about with KJ is, man, I wish I was down on the side of the pitch and I could help things from the side. It's really tricky up there through however they're communicating. But I think, like, if you talk about how Canada control the game, it's not necessarily with the ball. It was without the ball. It was their front six pressing, and Jordan spoke. The press was still good. They were turning the ball over in good areas, but it was just that little bit of fluidity. It was almost like the attack was too fast, and we were running out a little bit of space.
Yeah, interesting stuff.
The front three are so quick.
So quick. But again, when you need to break down a team, it's hot. It's your second game in a tournament. It's a difficult situation.
First
Perhaps
game for many.
It requires a little bit more. We're going to get into what some of those changes might look like ahead of El Salvador in the next segment. But the big question around Canada right now is, will Jesse Marsch be suspended or not? At this hour, we're still not sure where things stand. Here is what Jesse Marsch told Matthew Shinetti. He thinks that some things were inaccurate from CONCACAF. And based upon this statement, gentlemen, he just seemingly wants to turn the page and move things forward. Now, we're not sure if CONCACAF agrees with this assessment.
Yeah.
They're the ones that will inevitably decide whether further punishment is required. But what do you make of that statement, Jordan? Like, do you really feel that Marsch is ready to just move on from this spat and just focus on what's going on the fields?
I hope so. I mean, you look at this team, there's a lot to like about this Canadian men's national team, but they need a leader that can lead from the touchline. We don't need any more debacles and dismissals and punishments. So I'm looking at Jesse Marsch. You're going into the game against El Salvador. I want him there on the sideline, and they want to talk about a team that's complete and not missing their manager. So we hope so. But if he did any infraction that was 2, 3, 4, expect 2 or 3 games.
Even if he does get another game or two, and again, we're not sure where things stand. I think this just has to be message sent going forward. We love Marsch's passion. We love what he has to say. His persona is something that Canadians and the team have taken to. But calmer heads need to prevail here, Terry. And that's the delicate balance that a manager. We see people like Mourinho. We see different types of managers. But for the needs of this team, I think they just need a head coach right now.
And a sporting director. And this is why Canada are looking for a sporting director right now, that the sporting director should be dealing with this. If this is happening in Vancouver right now, Axel Schuster is all over this.
It's a great point. And that's kind of the missing link in Canada soccer. And we've said that for years. It seems like just having someone to just oversee, not take control, but oversee some of the processes that play along the way will make everyone's life that much easier.
Longer-term development. Let Jesse dial in on 2026. Kevin Blue, he's done an amazing job so far, but a sporting director, this would be a perfect example. Look, I can take care of this. Focus on training. Focus on El Salvador.
We'll turn our attention to focusing on El Salvador, what kind of changes may be in the works, and what sort of Canadian team and performance do we want to see on Tuesday night. It's great to have Dunfield back, isn't it? This is match night, and oh Canada, oh baby, right here on One Soccer.